This is a reflection for Wednesday of the 7th week of Easter. In our first reading, we encounter St. Paul returning from Greece, stopping on the islands alongside Turkey, and meeting with a community at Miletus, where he had worked for some years. And the reading ends with a very emotional farewell as he leaves them, because he knows he'll see them for the last time. And his words to them are words of encouragement, and yet also warning. Warning that there'll be much opposition to them. Well, they know that already. The Romans were persecuting them. The Jewish authorities were persecuting them. But he wanted them to be encouraged, to keep going. He also warned them that there would be people from their own communities who would rise up and pretend to be leaders. They would be people of charisma, people of great persuasive power, but the reality is that they would just be out for their own ends, to create a sense of success for themselves, to set themselves up as leaders. And St. Paul said, be very, very careful. And to remember the fundamental truths of what we believe. Well, at that point, there was no doctrine of the church. Paul hadn't even started writing his letters yet. So this isn't about catechetical obedience to some particular dogma. No, it's about obeying and be open to and to honor the experience they had already had of Jesus really present to them. Jesus as God come among them, like one like them, his divinity mingled with his humanity, and his humanity and his divinity joining with ours, helping the people of his own time, helping us to know that we are one with him and one with the Father. This is the great message of our gospel today, that ultimately, finally, at our foundation, we are one with God. We are one with Jesus and the Father and the Trinity. And Jesus comes to divinize us, to lift us up, to help us know that's true, and to give us help always. Now, Paul also reminds his followers in Miletus that they must care for the weak, care for the poor, care for the sick, to bring God's love and God's healing to them. And in our own day, we would certainly say to speak out with courage for a sense of justice, for justice against those in authority, whether in government, in church, anywhere, in finance, any of those who are wealthy and powerful, who would work against the common good, the good of God's own people. We see that so frequently in our own world today. And so you and I can take on what St. Paul has to say to us. Be in touch with the divinity that exists already inside us, that Jesus calls forth. Be ready to serve the poor. Be ready to speak out courageously against those who oppress them. And above all, to be one with Jesus in his humanity and his divinity. He will lead us through death to new life, through discouragement to hope, from troubled life to fullness of life and fullness of joy. Let's join with him today. Let's hear the words of St. Paul, hear the words of Jesus himself, and join him who wishes to join us to himself and to the Father.